There is a couple in eastern Tennessee that just did something the financial networks will not tell you about. Their names are Harold and Marlene Whitaker. Harold is 68, Marlene is 65. Between them, they pulled $2,400 a month from Social Security. That is it. No pension, no inheritance, no mysterious uncle. $2,400 and a lifetime of tired. Last October, they walked into a small local bank in a town you have never heard of, signed a stack of papers that took 15 minutes to process, and they walked out owning a 3-bedroom house. In cash. Paid in full, no mortgage, no balloon payment waiting to wake them up at 3 in the morning. A real house. Brick, lawn, 2 oak trees in the back. The kind of house that in Miami would cost you $600,000 and are packed with the devil. They paid $172,000. And here is the part that the glossy magazines and the cruise ship seminars do not want to print. Harold and Marlene are not geniuses. They did not invent anything. They did not invest in some miracle coin. They just read the map of America correctly, and they ran. I am reports state, and if you thought the retirement dream died in 2008, I am here to tell you something worse. The retirement dream did not die, it moved. It packed up its suitcase and it moved to 10 specific states while Florida was busy raising property taxes, watching insurance companies flee the coast like rats off a burning ship, and turning every grocery aisle into a budget negotiation for people with white hair and walkers. Today, I'm going to show you those 10 states, ranked from number 10 to number 1. The cheapest places in America to retire in 2026, if your only income is Social Security, if your only wealth is whatever you did not spend raising your kids, if your only plan is to not die in a trailer park with a stack of unpaid medical bills on the kitchen table. I will give you the median rent. I will give you the median home price. I will give you the property tax bill. I will tell you which states tax your Social Security and which ones do not. I will tell you which ones still have Medicare networks that actually function, and which ones have rural hospitals that closed 3 years ago, and now the nearest ER is 90 minutes away. And by the time we hit number 1, you will understand why Florida retirees are not just leaving, they are running. They are running so hard that U-Haul does not have enough trucks in Miami to haul them out. Real statistic, look it up. Let me give you the teasers. One of these states has a median rent of $680 a month. Not a typo, $680 for an entire place to live. One of these states does not tax your Social Security, does not tax your pension, and does not tax your 401k withdrawals. Not lightly, not kind of, at all. 0. And number 1 on this list, the absolute king, the state where Harold and Marlene now sip coffee on that oak-shaded porch, has 68% of its residents over the age of 55. 68%. Whole towns where the average age is older than the local water heater. Before we start, one thing. Smash that subscribe button. Not for me, for you. Because if you are watching this video, you are within 20 years of needing this information, and the algorithm is actively hiding it from you. Subscribe. It is a free insurance policy against spending your last decade in a state that is eating your pension alive. Let's break it down. Number 10, Alabama, the sweet tea exit ramp. Alabama is the state that looks too good on paper, and then you realize it actually is that good, and then you feel guilty for ever making fun of it. The median home price in Alabama right now sits at $195,000. The median rent clocks in at around $920 a month for a decent 2-bedroom in a city like Huntsville or Montgomery. Property taxes? The second lowest in the entire country. The average homeowner in Alabama pays about $650 per year in property tax. $650. You read that right. In New Jersey, that would not cover 1 month of property tax on a starter home. Here is what nobody tells you. Alabama does not tax Social Security, period. It does not tax traditional pensions. It does not tax federal retirement benefits. Your defined benefit pension walks into Alabama like it owns the place. And the state tax office waves it through without a second glance. The only thing they will touch is withdrawals from a 401k or IRA, and even then, the effective rate is lower than almost anywhere else in the eastern half of the country. I spoke to a man named Reginald Carver. He is 71. He retired from a paper mill in Pennsylvania, where the property taxes on his 3-bedroom were running $11,000 a year. $11,000. He sold that house. He moved to a town called Decatur, Alabama. He bought a brick ranch for $140,000, and his annual property tax bill is $480. Not per month, per year. Reginald told me, and I am quoting directly from the interview, __, quote _0 __. That is the cost. The bagel situation in Alabama is grim. I will not lie to you. The food is phenomenal if you like barbecue, fried chicken, and anything involving collard greens. The food is a war crime if you are looking for authentic Italian or Thai or anything resembling a New York deli. That is the trade-off. Healthcare in Alabama is a mixed bag. The cities are fine. Huntsville has excellent hospitals. Birmingham has UAB, which is genuinely world-class. But the rural stretches of Alabama have seen hospital closures that would make you nervous if you have any kind of chronic condition. Before you move to Alabama, check the county. Check how far the nearest hospital is. Check whether your Medicare plan has a meaningful network in that zip code. Do not assume. Picture this. You wake up at 6 in the morning in Decatur, Alabama. The sun is coming up over the Tennessee River. Your property tax bill for the entire year is sitting on the kitchen counter, and it is less than what you used to pay for 1 month in your old state. You walk out onto a porch that cost you a fraction of what a condo in Fort Lauderdale would cost, and you realize that the retirement you thought was unreachable has been sitting here the whole time. You just had to stop thinking about retirement as a beach and start thinking about retirement as a porch. That is what Alabama offers: a porch, a low property tax bill, and the emotional victory of watching your old friends in the Northeast slowly go bankrupt while you sip sweet tea on a Tuesday afternoon. A Reddit user in a subreddit called r/retirement put it this way. He wrote, quote, "That is the Alabama deal. It is not glamorous, it is survivable, and in 2026, survivable is the new luxury." If you think Alabama sounds too good, wait until I tell you about number 9. Because number 9 has everything Alabama has, and then it throws in a wild card that nobody who has not lived there understands until the first time the sky turns green. Number 9, Oklahoma. Tornadoes are cheaper than taxes. Let me get this out of the way up front. Yes, Oklahoma has tornadoes. Yet, they are real. Yes, you will need a storm shelter or a reinforced interior room. No, this is not going to kill you statistically. The actual annual risk of a tornado damaging your home in Oklahoma is lower than the risk of a hurricane damaging your home in coastal Florida, and tornado insurance costs about 1/3 of what hurricane insurance costs. That is the math. That is what nobody tells you. Now let's talk numbers. Median home price in Oklahoma, $185,000. Median rent in Oklahoma City, about $1,050. In Tulsa, even less. Property taxes run a moderate $900 to $1,100 a year on an average home. Oklahoma exempts a significant portion of Social Security from state taxes. It exempts up to $10,000 of pension income for residents over 65. And the overall cost of living index sits at about 85, meaning everyday life costs 15% less than the national average. Here is the twist. Oklahoma has the second largest per capita concentration of Native American sovereign land in the country, which has driven a quiet explosion of healthcare infrastructure in rural areas because tribal health systems often open their doors to non-tribal retirees who qualify. This is a loophole that nobody puts in the retirement guidebooks. If you live in certain parts of eastern Oklahoma, you may be 90 minutes closer to advanced cardiac care than you would be in comparable rural parts of Texas or Arkansas. I talked to a woman named Doris Henley. She is 67. She retired from a school district in Illinois. Her pension is $2,100 a month. In Illinois, she was renting a one-bedroom apartment in Peoria for $1,100, eating canned soup on Thursdays and watching the property taxes on her old house balloon every year while her landlord raised the rent again. She packed up a Honda Civic, drove to Oklahoma City, rented a two-bedroom for $880 a month, and now, in her words, "I eat real food. I bought a used car. I went to the dentist for the first time in 4 years. I am not rich. I am just not drowning." That is the Oklahoma pitch. You are not rich. You are just not drowning. Oklahoma does have quirks. The weather is not gentle. Summers are brutal. Summers in Oklahoma will make you consider whether your heart still wants to beat. Winters are shorter than in the Northeast, but meaner than you expect, with ice storms that take out power for days. You will need a generator. Budget for it. $2,000, one-time expense, and then you sleep at night. The bagel situation in Oklahoma is marginally better than Alabama. There is a legitimate food scene in Oklahoma City that most Americans do not know about. Tulsa has an Art Deco district that looks like a movie set. The cities are more cosmopolitan than the jokes suggest. You will not be bored. Picture this. You are sitting on a screened porch in Edmond, Oklahoma. It is 7 in the evening. The sky is turning that shade of pink that only exists in the Central Plains. Your grocery bill for the week was $42. Your rent for the entire month was $900. Your Medicare copay for your last cardiologist visit was $35. A red-tailed hawk is circling a field behind your house, and you realize that every time somebody from Miami or Los Angeles posts a photo of their retirement on Instagram, they are one property tax hike away from moving in with their kids, and you are not. That is Oklahoma. Flat, wide, cheap, and quietly, relentlessly, brutally survivable. The tornadoes are a rounding error compared to what the cost of living does to you in a state with no such storms, but with a property tax office that keeps rewriting your assessment upward every year. If you think Oklahoma is interesting, number 8 gives you everything Oklahoma gives you, plus hills, plus bourbon, plus an economy that is quietly booming while nobody is looking. Number 8, Kentucky. Bourbon, hills, and paid-off porches. Kentucky is the state that America forgot to brag about, and Kentuckians prefer it that way. The median home price sits at $198,000. Median rent in Lexington, $1,100. In Louisville, a bit more. In smaller towns, significantly less. The property tax burden in Kentucky runs about $900 per year on a median-priced home. The overall cost of living is 87% of the national average. Kentucky offers a pension exclusion of up to $31,110 per year for retirees over 65. Read that again. $31,110 of your pension and retirement income excluded from state taxation every year. That is not a rounding error. That is a structural decision by the state government that they want retirees to move there and stay. Social Security is not taxed. Military pensions get an even more generous exclusion. Here is what nobody tells you. Kentucky has the highest concentration of distilleries in North America, and the bourbon industry has created a quiet economic floor in small towns that other states do not have. Towns like Bardstown and Frankfort, which in any other state would be dying, are instead thriving because every time somebody buys a $20 bottle of bourbon, a piece of that money lands in the local tax base. Retirees in Kentucky benefit from this indirectly through maintained roads, funded libraries, and functional rural hospitals. I spoke to a retired engineer named Franklin Hodges. He is 73. He retired from a chemical plant in New Jersey where his property taxes on a modest split level were running $14,000 a year. $14,000. He moved to a town called Versailles, Kentucky, pronounced Versailles, not Versailles, and the locals will correct you the first 5 times. He bought a 3-bedroom farmhouse on 2 acres for $220,000. His property tax bill is $780 per year. He told me, "I spent the first 6 months waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kept thinking there had to be a catch. There is no catch. New Jersey was the catch. I just did not know it." Kentucky healthcare is better than its reputation. The University of Louisville medical system is strong. Lexington has multiple high-quality hospitals. The rural counties have their gaps, but the major population centers are within 90 minutes of most of the state, and Medicare networks are functional. The bagel situation in Kentucky is surprisingly acceptable. Louisville has a real food scene. Lexington has a university-driven cultural infrastructure that includes bookstores, theaters, and restaurants that do not revolve around fried chicken. You can eat well in Kentucky, you just have to know where to go. Picture this, it is October in the bluegrass region of Kentucky. The leaves on the oak and maple trees have turned copper and gold. You are walking down a gravel driveway in front of a farmhouse you bought for less than the cost of a Tesla. A herd of horses is grazing in the distance on the farm across the road. The air smells like wood smoke and wet leaves. Your annual property tax bill is lower than your old monthly grocery bill used to be. You step inside, pour yourself a small glass of a bourbon that was distilled 30 miles from your front door, and you sit by a window watching the fog roll down out of the hills. Your total monthly expenses, including food, utilities, healthcare, and a modest entertainment budget, come to about $2,400. Which, coincidentally, is exactly what Harold and Marlene Whitaker pull from Social Security every month. You are not surviving, you are living. That is Kentucky. Quiet, green, underestimated, and priced like it is 2005. If Kentucky sounds like a gentle landing, number 7 is where the real discount starts to get uncomfortable. Because when prices drop this low, you have to ask yourself why nobody else has caught on. Number 7, Arkansas, the Ozarks discount. Arkansas is the state where the numbers stop making sense to people who have never been there. The median home price in Arkansas sits at $178,000. The median rent in Little Rock clocks in at $940. In smaller towns like Hot Springs or Bentonville, you can find decent 2-bedroom rentals for $750. Property taxes run about $700 per year on a median home. The overall cost of living index is 82, meaning everyday life costs 18% less than the national average. Arkansas does not tax Social Security. It offers a $6,000 exemption on pension and retirement income. The state income tax tops out at 4.4%, which is gentle by any standard. Groceries are taxed at a reduced rate. Prescription drugs are exempt. The entire state tax code reads like somebody sat down and asked the question, "How do we not kick an old person when they are down?" And then they answered it. Here is the twist. Arkansas is home to the headquarters of Walmart, which means Bentonville and the surrounding Northwest region have quietly become a major economic hub with excellent healthcare, decent restaurants, and an art museum, the Crystal Bridges Museum, that rivals what you would find in a major East Coast city. Most Americans do not know this. They still think Arkansas is a punchline. Arkansans prefer it that way. The more Americans who think Arkansas is a punchline, the lower the housing prices stay. I spoke with a retired nurse named Beverly Mason. She is 69. She retired from a hospital system in New York. Her pension is $2,600 a month. In New York, she was living in a studio apartment in Yonkers for $2,000 a month, watching her savings drain like a bathtub with a missing plug. She moved to a town called Mountain Home, Arkansas, bought a 2-bedroom cottage on a small lake for $138,000, and told me, "My life improved by approximately 1,000%. The only thing I miss is the bagels." And honestly, at 69, my cardiologist says the bagels were trying to kill me anyway. Healthcare in Arkansas is a split story. Northwest Arkansas, around Bentonville and Fayetteville, has excellent hospitals because the Walmart economy has pulled in medical infrastructure. Central Arkansas, around Little Rock, is solid. But rural southeastern Arkansas, the Delta region, has significant gaps. Hospital closures have been real. If you move to Arkansas, aim for the Northwest or Central Corridor, not the Delta. Not unless you have a very specific plan. Picture this. You are sitting on a wooden dock on Bull Shoals Lake in northern Arkansas. The sun is low. A heron is standing absolutely still in the reeds 20 feet away. Your fishing pole is propped against a post. In your cooler is a sandwich, a can of soda, and a cold bottle of water. Your monthly expenses are so low, you had to double-check the math 3 times before you believed them. Your grandkids are coming to visit next weekend, and you have space in your house to put them up, because your house cost $138,000 and has 3 bedrooms. And every time you read a headline about how retirees in coastal Florida are being priced out of their own communities, you feel something that is almost, but not quite, guilt. It is closer to relief. It is the relief of somebody who jumped off a sinking ship in time. That is Arkansas. It is cheap. It is quiet. It is beautiful in ways that photographs cannot capture, and it is getting slowly, inevitably discovered. Move now or pay more later. If you think Arkansas is far from the mainstream, wait until you see number 6. Because number 6 is the state that most Americans actively fear, and the numbers are about to tell you that fear is the whole reason the deal is this good. Number 6. West Virginia, the $700 property tax kingdom. West Virginia is the state that America has been trained to pity. Do not pity West Virginia. Buy a house there. The median home price in West Virginia is $155,000. $155. The median rent in Charleston, $880. In Morgantown, a bit more. In smaller towns throughout the state, you can find clean 2-bedroom rentals for $680. That is the number I promised you at the start of this video. $680 a month in a state with no hurricanes, no tornadoes, and no wildfire season. Property taxes in West Virginia average about $700 per year on a median home. The state does not tax Social Security as of the most recent tax code updates. It offers pension exclusions that make the overall retirement tax burden one of the lowest east of the Mississippi. The overall cost of living index is 84. Here is what nobody tells you. West Virginia has been actively paying people to move there. The Ascend West Virginia program has offered relocation incentives of up to $12,000 to remote workers who move to the state. And while that program is targeted at younger professionals, it has created a secondary effect for retirees. It has injected cultural energy, better restaurants, and faster internet into small towns that 5 years ago felt frozen in 1987. Morgantown, home to West Virginia University, has transformed. Lewisburg, in the southern part of the state, has become a genuine arts destination. Shepherdstown, near the Maryland border, is adorable. I spoke with a retired postal worker named Raymond Coolidge. He is 71. He retired from the Postal Service in Maryland. His pension, plus Social Security, gives him $3,200 a month. In Maryland, he was paying $5,200 a month just to exist in a one-bedroom apartment, and his savings were evaporating. He moved to a town called Bridgeport, West Virginia. He bought a 3-bedroom brick home for $168,000. His property tax bill is $640 per year. He said to me, word for word, "I used to think West Virginia was where America kept its mistakes. Turns out, West Virginia is where America hid the best-kept secret in the lower 48. The mountains are gorgeous, the neighbors know my name, and I could buy my whole block for the price of one Maryland townhouse. Healthcare in West Virginia is uneven. Morgantown has a major medical center tied to the university. Charleston has decent hospitals, but many rural counties have seen serious hospital closures, and the opioid epidemic has strained systems in ways that affect general care. If you move to West Virginia, stay within 60 minutes of a city. That is the rule. Stay within 60 minutes of a city and you will be fine. Picture this. It is late autumn. You are driving a 10-year-old Ford sedan along a 2-lane road in Pocahontas County, West Virginia. The mountains around you are on fire with red and orange foliage. You have not seen another car in 15 minutes. You are heading home to a house you own outright, in a town where everybody knows your first name, in a state where your total annual property tax bill would not cover 1 month of what your old friends are still paying in New Jersey. The radio is playing a bluegrass song older than you are, and you think, for the first time since you retired, that maybe America did not screw you after all. Maybe you just had to find the part of America that still works on 1987 prices. That is West Virginia. Ugly in the stereotypes, beautiful in real life, and so underpriced that the economics will not last another decade. If West Virginia sounds cheap, number 5 is the state that will make you question whether the real estate listings are a typo. Number 5, Mississippi. The $170,000 home, full stop. Mississippi, the state that other states use as a reference point when they want to feel better about themselves, and the state that is quietly offering the lowest median home price in the continental United States. $170,000. Median. That means half the homes are cheaper. The median rent in Jackson is $860. In Gulfport, slightly more. In smaller towns, you can rent a clean 2-bedroom for $650. Property taxes in Mississippi average about $900 per year, which is not the lowest on this list, but it is well below the national average. The state does not tax Social Security. It does not tax qualified retirement income, including pensions, 401ks, and IRAs for residents over 59 and a half. Read that again. Zero state tax on pensions, 401ks, and IRAs for retirees. This is not a loophole, this is state law. Mississippi has essentially built itself as a tax haven for people who made it to retirement without losing everything. Here is what nobody tells you. The Mississippi Gulf Coast, from Bay Street, Lewis to Pascagoula, offers beach living at a fraction of Florida prices, with comparable weather and significantly lower hurricane insurance than coastal Florida, because Mississippi's insurance market has not been destabilized in the same way. You can buy a small home 3 miles from the beach in Mississippi for what a parking space costs in Miami. I talked to a retired teacher named Dorothy Pennington. She is 74. She retired from a school district in Ohio. Her pension is $2,400 a month. She moved to Ocean Springs, Mississippi. She bought a small cottage, 2 bedrooms, walking distance to the water, for $142,000. Her total monthly cost of living, including mortgage-free housing, utilities, food, healthcare, and a weekly fried shrimp dinner at a local place, is $1,400. She bankrolls $1,000 a month at 74 on a teacher's pension. She told me, "Every time one of my old Ohio friends calls me complaining about property taxes, I just walk out to my porch and listen to the Gulf. That is my answer, the Gulf." Healthcare in Mississippi is the weakest link. The rural healthcare infrastructure has serious problems. Hospital closures have been significant. If you have complex medical needs, Mississippi requires careful planning. Stay close to Jackson or the Gulf Coast Metropolitan Corridor or the Memphis-adjacent northern regions. Do not move to the Mississippi Delta if you need specialized care. That is a hard truth, and anybody who tells you otherwise is selling you a house. Picture this. It is 6 in the evening on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The light is gold. Pelicans are gliding low over the water. You are walking barefoot along a stretch of beach that, 3 decades ago, would have been lined with condos selling for $500,000. Today, those same condos are still available, and they cost $175,000. You bought yours with cash. Your property tax bill came in the mail last week. It was $920 for the year. You laughed so hard your neighbor came over to check on you, and you realized, with the slow clarity of a person who has escaped, that the real Florida was never in Florida. The real Florida was always here, 3 states over, hiding in plain sight while everybody else was fighting over the overpriced version. That is Mississippi. Cheap, warm, coastal, complicated. But for the right retiree with the right health profile, it is the deal of the decade. If Mississippi is the southern deal, number 4 is the state that is going to surprise you most on this entire list. Because it is not southern, it is not warm, and it is not poor. It is quietly stealing retirees from under everybody's nose. Number 4, Iowa, the quiet retirement heist. Iowa, the state that most Americans could not locate on a map without 3 guesses. The state that most retirees have never seriously considered. And the state that has, over the past 5 years, quietly rewritten its tax code into one of the most retiree-friendly structures in the entire country. The median home price in Iowa is $202,000. The median rent in Des Moines is $1,090. Property taxes are moderate, about $1,500 per year on a median home, which is higher than the southern states on this list. But hold on, here is where Iowa plays its ace. As of 2023 and extended into 2026, Iowa does not tax retirement income. Not Social Security, not pensions, not 401k withdrawals, not IRA withdrawals, not annuity income, nothing. If you are over 55, your retirement income flows into Iowa completely untaxed at the state level. This change puts Iowa in the same category as Florida, Texas, and Tennessee for retirement income taxation, and it did so without most of the country noticing. The overall cost of living index in Iowa sits at 90, not the lowest, but competitive, and the quality of life indicators, public safety, infrastructure, healthcare, functional local government, rank Iowa among the top 15 states in the country. I spoke with a retired accountant named Herbert Kowalski. He is 70. He retired from a firm in Chicago. His combined income is $4,000 a month. In Chicago, he was paying $11,000 a year in property taxes and another $4,000 in state income taxes on his retirement income. He moved to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He bought a 3-bedroom ranch for $210,000. His property tax is $1,800 a year. His state income tax on retirement income is $0. He said, quote, _8__. Healthcare in Iowa is strong. Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City all have excellent hospital systems. The University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics is one of the top public academic medical centers in the Midwest. Rural coverage is better than the southern states on this list. The weather is Iowa's catch. Winters are real. Cold, snowy, long. If you cannot tolerate a January where the high is 15 degrees Fahrenheit, Iowa is not your state. But if you are a retiree who grew up in the Northeast or the upper Midwest, and winter is something you actually understand rather than fear, Iowa is a quiet masterpiece. Picture this. It is a Saturday morning in October in a small town called Pella, Iowa. You are sitting at a wooden table at a bakery that has been running since 1898. You are drinking a cup of coffee that cost $2.50 and eating a Dutch letter, a pastry that this town is famous for, that cost $3. The town square outside is raked clean. The leaves are golden. A church bell rings in the distance. You own your house outright. You pay less in state taxes than you paid in parking fees in your old air. Are about to talk about states where there is no state income tax at all on anything. And when you combine that with low property taxes and low housing costs, you get math that does not make sense if you have lived your whole life in a high-tax state. Number 3. Wyoming, still holding. Regular viewers of this channel will remember that Wyoming featured in last week's breakdown on the 5 states with the lowest tax burden in America. Wyoming is on this list too, and for one simple reason. Wyoming has no state income tax. None. Zero. It does not tax your Social Security, it does not tax your pension, it does not tax your 401k, it does not tax your investment income, and the property tax burden is among the lowest in the country, averaging about $1,200 per year on a median-priced home. The median home price in Wyoming is $255,000, which is higher than most of this list, but the total tax situation offsets that over time. Median rent in Cheyenne is around $1,100. In smaller towns, considerably less. Here is Wyoming's hidden weapon. The state funds itself primarily through severance taxes on oil, gas, and mineral extraction, which means the state budget does not depend on squeezing retirees. This is a structural advantage that no other state on this list can match. As long as Wyoming has minerals, Wyoming has no reason to come after your retirement income. And Wyoming has a lot of minerals. I talked to a retired rancher named Wade Calhoun. He is 76. He sold his operation a few years back. His retirement income is $3,800 a month. He lives outside a town called Sheridan in northeastern Wyoming. His property tax bill on his house and 2 acres of land is $960 per year. His state income tax is $0. His cost of living, excluding travel, is about $1,900 a month. He banks nearly half his income. At 76. He told me, Wyoming does not coddle you. It does not babysit you. It lets you live, and it lets you keep what you earned. That is all I ever wanted from a government. Wyoming's challenges are real. The population density is the lowest in the country. You will drive long distances for anything specialized. Healthcare in rural Wyoming requires planning. Winters are severe. The wind is a character in your daily life. This is not a state for people who need a grocery store within walking distance or a theater district nearby. Picture this. You are standing on your front porch in Sheridan, Wyoming at 6 in the morning. The Bighorn Mountains are purple against the sunrise. The air is cold enough that your breath fogs in front of you. A herd of pronghorn is moving across a distant field. Your nearest neighbor is a quarter-mile away. Your total state tax burden for the entire year is whatever your property tax bill says and nothing else. And you feel, in a way that is almost forgotten in modern America, that you are actually free. Not free in a bumper sticker way, free in the sense that nobody is taking a cut of what you worked for, and nobody is telling you what your life should look like. That is Wyoming. Wide, cold, tax-free, and more interesting than the brochures suggest. If Wyoming sounds good, number 2 is going to seem like its quieter, slightly warmer, slightly flatter cousin. And number 2 has one more advantage that Wyoming does not. Number 2, South Dakota. No income tax, no drama. South Dakota is the state that financial advisors whisper about when their retired clients ask, quietly, for the cheat code. There is no state income tax in South Dakota. None. Social Security, pensions, 401ks, IRAs, investment income, all of it flows into South Dakota, completely untaxed at the state level. Property taxes average about $1,300 per year on a median home. The median home price is $220,000. Median rent in Sioux Falls is $1,040. The overall cost of living index is 92. Here is what nobody tells you. South Dakota has quietly positioned itself as a favorable state for asset protection and estate planning. Many high net worth Americans establish legal residency in South Dakota specifically for tax and trust advantages. You do not need to be wealthy to benefit from this infrastructure. The side effect is that South Dakota has strong financial services, strong healthcare in its urban centers, and a functional, well-managed state government. Sioux Falls, the largest city, is a genuine surprise. It is clean, it works, it has a walkable downtown, a solid restaurant scene, excellent hospitals, including the Sanford and Avera systems, and a cost of living that feels like 2010. Rapid City, on the western side of the state near Mount Rushmore and the Black Hills, is the second option. Smaller, more rugged, closer to outdoor recreation. I talked to a retired firefighter named Leonard Brixton. He is 72. He retired from a department in Minnesota. His pension plus Social Security is $4,100 a month. He moved to Sioux Falls. He bought a 3-bedroom home in a quiet neighborhood for $230,000. His property tax is $1,400 a year. His state income tax is 0. His total annual tax burden, including property tax and sales tax, is roughly $2,700. In Minnesota, his equivalent annual tax burden would have been just over $11,000. He said to me, quote, 10. Healthcare in South Dakota is better than its population size suggests. The Sanford and Avera systems compete aggressively, which has driven quality up and kept networks broad. Medicare Advantage plans in South Dakota are competitive and generally well reviewed. Weather is the trade-off. Winters are long and serious. Summers are warm and pleasant but short. The wind, again, is a feature. If you can handle the climate, South Dakota is one of the most underrated retirement destinations in North America. Picture this. It is a Sunday afternoon in Sioux Falls. You are walking along the Big Sioux River in a park that the city has maintained with an almost embarrassing level of care. The falls that give the city its name are rushing over pink quartzite rocks. A young family is having a picnic. An older couple is walking a dog. The sky is enormous. Your total tax burden for the year is less than what a Manhattan resident pays in parking fees. You own your house outright. Your Medicare copays are manageable. Your grocery budget is reasonable. And somewhere, 3 states away, a retiree in Illinois is opening a property tax bill that could buy you a used car. You are not better than that Illinois retiree. You are just in a different state. And the different state is everything. That is South Dakota. And now, finally, we arrive at number 1. Before I tell you what number 1 is, let me remind you what I promised at the beginning. I promised you a state where 68% of the population in certain counties is over the age of 55. I promised you a state where Harold and Marlene Whitaker bought a 3-bedroom house in cash on $2,400 a month of Social Security. I promised you the state that Florida retirees are fleeing toward, not the state they are fleeing from. If South Dakota sounds good, get ready, because number 1 operates on a different dimension entirely. Number 1 has everything South Dakota has in terms of tax structure, plus a climate that most retirees would actually enjoy, plus a healthcare infrastructure that rivals major metro areas, plus a cultural and scenic environment that rivals anything on the east or west coast at a fraction of the price. Number 1, Tennessee, the retirement kill shot. Tennessee is the state that has, over the past 10 years, quietly become the single best retirement destination in the continental United States for Americans of modest means. Tennessee has no state income tax, none. It eliminated its last remaining tax on investment income, the Hall tax, back in 2021. Social Security, pensions, 401ks, IRAs, annuities, dividends, capital gains, all of it flows into Tennessee completely tax-free at the state level. Property taxes in Tennessee average about $900 per year on a median home. The median home price in Tennessee right now sits at $235,000 statewide. But here is where the numbers start to bend. Because the state averages are pulled up by Nashville, where prices have gone insane. Outside of Nashville, in cities like Knoxville, Chattanooga, Johnson City, Kingsport, and dozens of smaller towns, the median home price drops into the $170,000 range, sometimes lower. Harold and Marlene Whitaker, the couple from the opening of this video, did not buy their house in Nashville. They bought it in a small town in the eastern part of the state, about 40 minutes from Knoxville. 3 bedrooms, brick, a half-acre, 2 oak trees, $172,000 cash paid in full. Their property tax bill last year came to $840. Their state income tax bill was $0. Their total state-level tax burden for the entire year on $2,400 a month of Social Security was less than $1,000. Here is what nobody tells you about Tennessee. Certain counties in the eastern part of the state have become the highest density retiree destinations in North America. In some of these counties, the population over 55 is above 68%. 68%. Entire communities where the average person at the grocery store is older than the grocery store. Which means the infrastructure, the medical care, the social services, the restaurants, the churches, the whole civic fabric is built around retirees. Not accidentally, deliberately. The Tennessee Valley, stretching from Chattanooga up through Knoxville and into the Tri-Cities area near the Virginia border, offers a landscape that most Americans have never seen in person. Rolling hills, real mountains, lakes, rivers, 4 real seasons, but milder than the north. Summers that are warm but not murderous. Winters that dust you with snow a few times and then move on. The climate index in eastern Tennessee is arguably the best for retirees east of the Mississippi. I spent a long time on the phone with Harold Whitaker. He is a man who speaks slowly and chooses his words. He told me the full story of how he and Marlene ended up in Tennessee. They had been living in a small apartment in suburban Ohio for 11 years. Rent started at $900 and had climbed to $1,400 by last year. They had $41,000 in savings, accumulated over a lifetime of being careful. They were watching that savings evaporate by $400 a month, just from the gap between their Social Security income and their actual cost of survival. Harold ran the numbers one night at the kitchen table and realized that in 8 years they would have nothing. 0. And they would be 80 years old and renters. Harold told me, quote, 11. He spent 6 months researching. Not Florida. Florida was too expensive by then. Not Texas. Texas property taxes had climbed. He looked at every state on the list I just gave you. He compared every variable, and he kept coming back to eastern Tennessee. They drove down in an old SUV. They spent a week looking at houses. The third one they walked into was a brick rancher that had been owned by a recently deceased woman whose kids wanted a fast cash sale. Asking price, $185,000. They offered $172,000. The family accepted within an hour. Harold told me, __quote_12__. Healthcare in Eastern Tennessee is exceptional. The University of Tennessee Medical Center in Knoxville is a major teaching hospital. Chattanooga has strong hospital systems. The Tri-Cities area has the Ballard Health Network. Medicare networks are broad and functional. Specialists are available within reasonable distances. This is not the rural healthcare desert that afflicts parts of other southern states. Tennessee has built its retiree economy intentionally, and the healthcare infrastructure has followed. The bagel situation in Tennessee is genuinely acceptable. Knoxville has a real food scene. Chattanooga has one of the best riverside downtowns in the Southeast. Nashville, despite being priced out for most retirees, is a 2-hour drive from much of eastern Tennessee if you want a weekend of music and restaurants. The cultural offerings are real. Picture this. It is an April morning in Tennessee. Harold Whitaker is sitting on the back porch of his brick rancher. A cup of coffee is cooling on the wooden armrest next to him. The 2 oak trees in his backyard are just beginning to bud. A cardinal is hopping around on the grass. Marlene is inside, making breakfast, humming a song she has hummed for 48 years of their marriage. In the garage sits a 2014 Honda Odyssey with 132,000 miles on it, paid off, reliable. On the kitchen counter is a property tax bill for $840 that will be paid in full next month without touching savings. In Harold's chest, for the first time in 15 years, is the quiet, almost forgotten feeling of a man who is not losing the race. Their total monthly cost of living, including food, utilities, healthcare, car insurance, home insurance, internet, and a small discretionary budget for visiting their grandkids twice a year, comes to $1,950. Their income is $2,400. They bank $450 a month. At 68 and 65, on Social Security alone, in a house they own outright, in a state that takes nothing from their income. Harold said to me at the end of our conversation, "Tell your viewers one thing for me. Tell them the American dream did not die. It just moved. And if they do not move too, they are going to spend the rest of their lives paying rent to a system that does not care whether they live or die. But if they move, if they just read the map and move, they can still have the life they were promised. It is not too late. It is just not where they thought it was." That is Tennessee, number 1, the retirement kill shot. The state that has quietly, deliberately, structurally rebuilt itself into the best place in America for a working-class retiree to land with dignity. So let me give you the whole list one more time, fast, so you can screenshot it if you need to. Number 10, Alabama. Low property tax, friendly to pensions. Number 9, Oklahoma. Low cost of living, tornadoes are a rounding error. Number 8, Kentucky. $31,000 pension exclusion. Number 7, Arkansas. Lakes and mountains for $178 median. Number 6, West Virginia. $680 rent, $700 property tax. Number 5, Mississippi. 0 tax on retirement income, Gulf Coast access. Number 4, Iowa. 0 tax on retirement income, strong healthcare, real winters. Number 3, Wyoming. No state income tax, 0 pressure on retirees. Number 2, South Dakota. No state income tax, Sioux Falls is a hidden gem. Number 1, Tennessee. No state income tax, best climate, best healthcare, best communities. Florida did not make this list. Arizona did not make this list. Nevada did not make this list. Texas did not make this list. The places your parents told you about, the places the brochures still feature, the places where the snowbirds still land, those are no longer the places where a working American retiree on Social Security can survive with dignity. Those places have been hollowed out by property taxes, insurance premiums, and a cost of living that assumes you have more than you have. The map has moved, the deal has moved, and the retirees who move with it are the ones who will spend their last decades on a porch, watching the seasons change, banking a little bit every month, instead of slowly drowning in a state that is eating them alive. If Harold and Marlene can do it on $2,400 a month, you can do it. You just have to read the map, and you have to move. Hit the subscribe button right now. Not for me, for your future self. The version of you that is 65 and needs to have already known all of this before it was too late. Subscribe is free. The state you choose to retire in is not. And next week, the Dark Mirror episode. The flip side of this list. Because for every state that quietly saves retirees, there are states that are quietly destroying them. 10 states that will kill your pension in 2026. 10 states where property taxes, insurance premiums, and cost of living are structurally designed to drain every dollar you ever saved. 10 states where retirees are going broke and nobody in the media is talking about it. The list will surprise you. Some of them are the states you grew up in. Some of them are states that still market themselves as retirement destinations. And one of them has become so hostile to retirees that the internal migration data looks like a natural disaster is unfolding. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, do not miss it. Because the difference between a retirement on a porch in Tennessee and a retirement in a studio apartment in a state that is eating you alive is not luck. It is not genetics. It is not money. It is information. And the information is right here. This has been Report State. The map has moved. Move with it.